Good morning and happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. My name is Rachel Muleman, and this is Smart Impressions. This is where we are basically unlocking business relationships one connection at a time. And today we are having a great conversation with no other than the founder of the brand Botox, Mariam Yasin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, good morning.
We are going to be talking. Absolutely. So excited that you're here. We have a crucial topic to talk about.
Yes.
And it's all about the power of context, right?
Yes, for sure.
So I get excited about this because the power of what we say to each other can be really powerful, whether it be spoken, whether it be written, but how we communicate to each other can make a huge difference in our life, and not only in our life, but professional lives. And so I am grateful that you're here today because you're going to take us through everything about content that you know. And really there's a big world out there of content, and I can't say enough how much there are people posting content that just is not getting that traction that they need. So I'm looking forward to your insight and expertise.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. But yeah, like you said, there's so much out there in terms of content. And I feel like, there are times where whether it's an individual or a business, they kind of struggle to find the solutions that work for them and getting the engagement, getting the sales, like whatever is their objective through all that. So I actually started out my journey in content 8 years ago. I was one of the first YouTubers in the region. So I took a dive into that world when that was still very new here. And I haven't really looked back since then. I'm not so much active on YouTube anymore, but that was like my kickstart into the world of content, which is so much fun and creative. And I love that every day can be different. Like I really need that in my life. So yeah, I mean, content, it just depends on, is it an individual talking about, is it businesses, but there are so many things that you should keep in mind, and also some maybe, some tips or some trends that we can look at as well.
Awesome. So I invite everyone. We're streaming live on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Insta. We're so happy you're here. This is a great morning to grab your cup of coffee and listen to what Mariam has to say. We're going to get a whole bunch of good stuff, and we're going to jump right into content and compelling content. Why is it crucial in today's digital landscape to have compelling content? And obviously we want to engage, we want to find relevance, we want to find value, you want to get some stickiness going with the people of the community that you're talking to. But how do you define this compelling content?
Yeah, it is. This is I think one of the biggest challenges that businesses and even, let's say, thought leaders, people who are into personal branding as well, is how to create content that engages. And definitely there are a few things to keep in mind, but we have to also understand there's just so much out there, and it keeps by the day, it keeps expanding and growing. And it's you need to find your path, but also you need to find a way to get attention at the same time. So for sure, there are so many things to keep in mind, but let's say in terms of compelling content, I mean, you need to be creative. So, I mean, it's great to follow trends, but you also kind of need to have your own twist on things. So there was a phase a couple of years ago where everyone was kind of doing the same trends, which of course gets some attention for a while. But if you're not continuing to create your own content in a unique way, maybe more authentic to who you are, then people will kind of just you were a trend and then now they move on to somebody else. So having your own edge, being creative, being authentic is really important. Plus also, I can't stress enough about strategy. Even when it comes to, let's say, personal branding, an individual who has content, let's say a thought leader or an expert. So even if you're an expert in the industry, or whether it's a business, having a clear strategy towards your content. So what kind of content am I creating? How am I going to add value to people's lives who watch and engage with my content? Plus, how can I make it fun? If it's so serious all the time, people switch off. To be honest, a lot of us, we connect with content because it makes us smile, makes us laugh, it makes us feel an emotion. So it's so important to make sure that we can connect with the emotions of the people and not just do whatever everyone else is doing or make it so serious. Or even for businesses, being so sales oriented is also a big no-no, because they can't relate to that at the end. It's just they know that you just want to sell. And if you're not evoking an emotion or a mood or kind of a vibe, which links back to your brand, then you kind of lost the plot. It might work for a while, but it won't be consistent in the long run.
So I love that, because you're right. I believe, and I think you'd agree, that content is about connecting through emotion, right?
For
And
sure.
so that's your big ultimate goal. Like, that is, where you're going. That's where you want to go. And so let's talk about what that content is. You mentioned trends. What were people doing that are not working anymore, or what people are doing now to really get that engagement going?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting to see how over the last few years, even on Instagram, let's say, which was a very photo-based platform, beautiful images, is now quickly evolving into a very much video-based platform. So video is number one when it comes to content. That's nothing new. I think everyone kind of knows that by now. But even it's like, how long do you make the video? So like, I've been in production for many, many years. So we worked with all kinds of brands, big names, Google, L'Oreal Group, Estee Lauder Group, so many different international and regional brands where we would see the content getting shorter and shorter. So we're staying away from the very long kind of content to like little snippets. So what can you do in 10 seconds, 15 seconds to grab attention and to add value and to be creative? Which can be like a challenge at times, but it also makes it interesting, because then, you're having to evolve with the times. So, video, but how long is the video? So it depends on the type of content as well. Also, trends are there, and it's always interesting if you feel like you can catch that trend and make it relevant for you. Otherwise, if you are more of a, let's say, industry expert who's kind of like, a very inspirational, more of a respected person in the community, and then you start doing like TikTok dances, I'm not sure if that's relevant, but like, if you can find a trend that works for you and it makes you feel like, okay, I can do this authentically, then go for it. Why not? It's a nice way to be creative and experiment. And I think experimentation is important. So again, it goes back to the strategy. So what kind of strategy do you have? What kind of content buckets? And then re-evaluating that from time to time. So depending what kind of business you're in, that could be every week, it could be every month, it could be every few months, but you need to go back to the stats and see what's working, what's not, and then, you got to re-strategize. That's super important in this industry. What worked 2 years ago, 2 months ago, it may not work today. So you need to be on top of your game. So if you can't do that individually or as a business, you definitely need to consult with people who know that industry inside and out. Social media is an everyday thing. So yeah.
It's evolving at every platform. So every platform is working differently. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And you need to see like which space do you want to be in as a business or as an individual. Not all will work for you. So let's say, LinkedIn is a great platform for more of the corporate space. TikTok is a very young platform. So unless you can make that work in a way that presents you and in a way that's relatable for people, do you need to be there? Instagram is also a different kind of audience. So I think my suggestion, it's very hard to be everywhere all the time. And that's where a lot of people fail, or they find they can't have the consistency. So choose 1 or 2 platforms and also stick to it and do it well. Understand the platform and what it presents and what it how it engages people, and keep that going, as opposed to being everywhere all the time and now it's not working, So just choose 1 or 2 that can work for you.
So I love this, because I think it's quite stressful. All of a sudden you're like, I got to be on that platform, and whether, we have a lot of people in the audience that are business owners, they are marketing managers and directors, they are basically individuals that have their own business, specifically salespeople trying to drive revenue. So they're all about like connecting with people. And I think so often you have a business, a medium-sized business, a large business that has their own social media strategy, and then you have the individuals inside the business. And so how does that kind of work together or work apart? Like, what are some of your strategies to make that work successfully?
It's really interesting, because I've been studying, kind of looking at what's happening now in the next year, 2024. What are the trends? What are companies now shifting towards? So there was a strong trend, and I saw this very much in the production world, where all the companies, all the businesses, all the brands would use influencers to promote their products, because that's what would work, Now we see companies and big organizations, even corporates, doing in-house personal brands with their own staff. They're creating personal brands in-house and using this as a way to market their product, their services, but through the people that work with the company, which is really interesting trend. And I think you can already start to notice some of that happening, especially on LinkedIn and whatnot. Some companies also recruit a few faces for social media that become the faces of the brand, not necessarily influencers, but they work directly with the company and become their face. So I think like there is definitely a link, and more people now are jumping on the personal branding bandwagon. It's so important to be able to stand out from the crowd, and also for people to understand your value and what you have to offer in your industry, in your background, and maybe even as a person. And it creates something unique, and you have to stand out whether you like it or not. I mean, I know people now this day and age that are still not on social media, and I'm like, you need to get out there. You may not like it, but it's something that it's the future. I mean, I was just researching now, like the industry. So the online marketing industry in 2022, it was a $300 billion industry. And 2028, it's going to be almost $700 billion industry. So this is the future, whether you like it or not. So you might as well get more comfortable with it, understand how it works, consult with the right people who can, get you on your way or to support you in your journey, because this is the future. This is it. We're already living it, but even for our children. So this is the way to go.
Yeah. So let's see. What do you say to people? Like, I know you've mentioned the word creative quite a lot, and there may be people in the audience that go, I'm not creative. And I know hiring social media people, it could be a full-time resource. I mean, there is a huge gap from a freelancer to an agency, what they're doing, how much content, what type of content, the video, are they doing it on the phone? Are they doing it on a camera? And it can be very stressful for people. So if you're feeling stressed about this, what do you tell them?
I think it goes back to, where are you at in your business or even your personal brand? So let's, in this case, talk about businesses. Because I understand, like, especially in UAE, there's a lot of small businesses like that come up. This is a very entrepreneurial area, and they don't always prioritize their social media strategy or their budget at the beginning, and they kind of do it all themselves. But they face a point where they can't do it all themselves anymore, and then they're struggling to understand what's next, or to have the resource, or to kind of allocate a budget or time or resources towards that. And I think it really depends on your objectives. Like, where are you going with this? Like, if this is something serious for you, you have to have a social media presence. It's got to be done. I mean, if you don't want to invest in it, it's going to show. People are going to understand that it's not your priority. I mean, all of us, anytime we need to go to a doctor, we want to buy from a company, where do we go? We go online and we check them on Google. All the social media platforms come up. So if you want to be taken seriously, you have to invest in your social media strategy and the content, which more and more so it's becoming more accessible and more affordable. It's just about, one, finding someone who can support you in that journey. Like, so whether it's education, is it training, is it, having that actual resource to execute for you. So it just, you need to kind of understand where you're at and where you want to go with it. And then, you can fit it in, fill in the blanks kind of thing.
Well, we just talked about a company that we both know that happened to be great on social, and then all of a sudden they stopped posting. So, what's this may be a lot of businesses go, I posted, we got people, we got followers. Why do we need to keep on posting? It's a cost to the business. Marketing's always an outbound cost, so nobody likes to spend. And clearly in any kind of, economic dive, that's the first budget to kind of get stopped purely because it doesn't, it's not revenue generating. So what's the worst thing that happens if I don't post?
Well, I think you stop becoming top of mind, and for example, that place that we spoke about, like, it used to be like, kind of, you would see it a lot, and it's like buzzing and trending, and it's like, oh, you have FOMO, you want to be there because it's like you hear so much about it and see so much about it online, and then it's like, maybe for the last 3-4 months or maybe longer, it's like nothing. So it's like, unless you had brought it up, it's totally out of mind now. And unfortunately, this is the case now with this very fast-paced world that we're in. And it's, to be honest, it's very easy to repurpose content. And I think this is where people struggle, and they don't know the secret of the social media world is like, okay, you've done content, there's easy ways to repurpose it. So you don't have to constantly be creating new stuff all the time, because that becomes a burden, and it's really like a lot of time and energy. there are ways to repurpose things to make it easier and like fresh again, but also maybe with a slightly different message, or just to make sure that you're still there. Like, you have to be out there. You can't just stop. Especially as
awesome. I like it. Top of mind. Don't stop being top of mind, because when people need you, they're gonna call you. And Andreas, thank you so much for joining today. He has a question for you. As an entrepreneur, what funding is needed to build a personal brand on social? What would you answer to that?
Okay, so in terms of funding, I guess you mean like what kind of budget should you think about? It really depends on where you're at. So if you need to start from square one, then you would need to think about, okay, I need to work on my personal brand. What am I? What do I represent? What is my industry? What do I want to talk about? What is my area of expertise? And then that also has a creative design element as well, that you would kind of, let's say here for Smart Impressions and the Bizz Advisors, we have color scheme, we have a logo, we have, a certain kind of vibe that we project. And then that goes through into kind of what kind of content will you create after that. So it really depends. Like, I don't want to throw a number out there to scare anyone. It just depends where you're at and where you want to go. But to be honest, it can be quite affordable and accessible. And there's more and more ways and resources, even us at the brand Botox, we can support you in your journey in terms of, even if it's just for initial consultation and then through to execution as well. So it just depends where you're at and where you're going and how active you want to be. So even podcasts are huge now. Rachel, you know all about that. Even video podcasts are a really great way to do personal branding as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, I agree. You got the right things. You're telling and sharing all the expertise that people need to know about this. And do you have someone to do it? Do you need someone to do it? What do you have so far? And what are you trying to achieve? I think that's kind of the best way. We're good. We're clearly over. This is a hot topic. Everyone wants to know, what should I be posting? And Mariam here from Brand Botox is all here to tell you what you should be doing and what strategy you should be building. Mariam, let's leave our listeners with 3 top tips that they can implement today after this call. Okay. What do you got?
So when it comes to social media and content, I think number one for sure, most important is strategy. So you need to know where you're at, where you're going, what kinds of content. So it doesn't matter if you're a business just starting out, or if you're like a huge corporate, or if you are an individual. You need to kind of know where you're at, where you're going, and what kind of content do I want to create. This is going to be so supportive in your journey, and it's also going to help you grow and evolve without feeling frustrated. So strategy is very important, and also creativity. So second one, creativity. So if you feel like you're not creative, then it's easy to find people to support you in having some creative content to add to your content bucket. So maybe you can do some of them in-house or with specific resources, then you need support with more of the creative kind of content. So you need to see where are your strengths and weaknesses, but being creative doesn't mean you have to go like, something crazy over the top. It's just like tweaking your content to be a bit unique and fun, and giving people something different to see. And then the third one I would say is authenticity. So this is where a lot of people kind of go wrong. They feel like they have to follow other people, or they kind of, they need to just follow the trends, or, they need to have this very kind of, egoistic kind of appeal, to be cool on social media. But I can tell you from my personal journey as well, being authentic is what's going to get you results, because people can relate to you. They feel like you're human, that you have experiences that you can share with them and that they can learn from as well. And also having that two-way communication with you is important. So answering your messages that you get, making sure the comments are, you can engage with your audience as well. So
there's no doubt. List goes on and on. We're up to 4 already, so I'm going to stop you there.
I have a lot of points, but I think this would be the most important for now. But there's lots of important points to consider.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we got strategy, creativity, authenticity as top 3, and then we squeeze in a little communication for number 4. Mariam, I can't thank you enough for being here this morning. It's great to have you on the show, and I really appreciate your expertise. I'm grateful for you to be here for Smart Impressions, helping people get the most out of their content. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun. Thanks for letting me share and engage with you and your audience. So thank you again.
Love it. Well, Mariam and I have had a relationship for almost over 15 years. I've known her, one of my first connections when I got to Dubai, and just understanding her business, her expertise, and how she's adding all this value to businesses is why we're here today. So really happy she's here. Again, I'm Rachel Muleman from Smart Impressions. We're sponsored by Dripify, the automated platform on LinkedIn to reach out, build your community, and do it automatically so you don't have to do it anymore. I know, jumping in, there's a couple more people on the show. We have gone over by 5 minutes. This stuff is getting good. We may have to look at extending the time, but we're going to wish you everyone a wonderful goodbye. We'll be chatting with you online. Have a wonderful day. Great Tuesday. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Bye, everyone.